Alright guys, we are back with another episode of Stranger Things. This is Season 1, Episode 6. And at the end of the last episode, Nancy crawled her way into the other dimension. And I am so frustrated with that. She just didn't bring her weapons. She didn't let Jonathan find her first. Yeah, we need someone to get back from that dimension soon. We still haven't had any proof that anybody can actually come back. I suppose if there's a tear already, they can get through that, but if another person goes missing, I'm gonna be mad. The faceless thing is super creepy. My question at the moment is if there's only one of them, or if there are multiple ones in that dimension. It'd be nice if they killed this one and it was the end of everything, but who knows at this point. The kids are fractured after Elle threw Lucas across the field. He walks off and she disappears. She's missing. And I have this bad feeling the Department of Energy is going to catch wind of her soon. Meanwhile, Will is still stuck in the other dimension. Barb is likely dead. It's called the Upside Down. It'll be interesting to see if Hopper and Joyce try to figure things out together. If Joyce will let him in on all the other crazy things that are happening. Maybe Jonathan can help out too. Like, who else is going to go to him? Who else is he going to go to other than his mother? Once Nancy is missing. Like, she's the only one he knows would believe him. And we're gonna get started, but if you want to check out the full reaction with the footage, be sure to check out Patreon and the link in the description below. There's also an early access tier, so you can watch next week's episode right after this one. But let's begin!
Nancy! Nancy!
Is there another hole? If that's why I can hear each other? Oh, damn! Bring your gun. Don't forget your gun. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Oh my god, it's right behind her. Oh my god. Go, go, go! She's gonna be here in that shot. We're not gonna see her in that dimension again. She's in the... There we go. It's her. Pull, pull, pull! That's a lot of goop. Okay. Oh, he's gonna see her with Steve. I mean, Jonathan.
Oh, you are. Oh, Steve has a phone.
Shut up. Shut up! Jesus.
Jonathan's in there. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Was it good?
It was a
The
kid's
drawing?
drawing. Choice was stick figures.
Will is better than that. Better artist than that.
Wasn't Will.
Yeah.
This woman, Terry Ives, she claims to have lost her daughter, Jane. She sued Brenner. She
There you
sued
go.
the
He's
government,
connecting
and
the
claim
dots.
came to nothing. But what if I've been chasing after some other kid?
That trauma. Girls, you take off your earring, your jewelry, before you go in the shower.
I don't want to be alone. Do you?
No. You can't get us in here.
We don't know that.
They have to kill it, otherwise they'll never be able to sleep again.
Remember at Steve's when Barb cut herself? And then last night, the deer?
I was bleeding too.
Oh.
It's just a theory.
That's a good theory.
Test it.
With what?
At least we'll know what's coming.
Oh boy. Is Steve outside waiting? He's gonna beat up Jonathan. Oh. Yeah, these two are definitely getting together.
Hi, Scott Clark?
Oh.
Scott Clark, who teaches science and AV at Hawkins Middle?
The very same.
This is the social worker, isn't it?
So, you know any kids you think might want to participate?
Yes.
Oh, I have a few in mind.
Oh, God.
She just messed up the compasses because she wanted to protect us. She didn't betray us.
Mike, calm down.
I shouldn't have yelled at her. I never should have done that.
Mike, this isn't your fault.
Yeah, it's Lucas's.
Wasn't his fault either. All three of you were being a bunch of little assholes. I was the only reasonable one. But the bottom line is, you pushed first.
Pancakes.
Yeah.
That was a big bite. Good job, Holly.
What do you want?
You push first.
I'll shake. On one condition. We forget the weirdo and go straight to the gates. Then the deal's off. Fine! Fine!
No, not fine. Guys, seriously? Accident or not, admit it, it was a little awesome.
Awesome?
Yeah, she threw you in the air with her mind.
I could have been killed. Which is
Yeah.
exactly why we need her.
I want you to find it. Understand?
God dang.
Mouth breather.
Mouth breather. Oh, wow.
You have to pay for those. Stop right there.
Oh, boy. Oh, God. Oh. Oh, this guy.
Sometimes your total obliviousness just blows my mind. All you ever want to do is pay attention to her.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. No one ever says anything until you both start punching and yelling at each other. Like goblins with intelligence scores of 0. Now everything's weird.
Give them drugs, psychedelics, LSD mostly, and then they'd strip her naked and put her in these isolation tanks.
Jeez.
Isolation tanks.
She didn't know she was pregnant at the time.
Oh.
Terry miscarried in the 3rd trimester. Says she's special, born with abilities.
Abilities.
Ooh. Good idea.
What are you kids doing with all this?
Murdering people. Her look.
Monster hunting.
He's like, oh, okay. Wow.
Monster hunting?
Can't wait to see your movie.
Movie.
I don't know.
Movie? What the hell's going on? What the frick?
Jesus.
What the heck?
What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? I was worried about you. Can you believe that I was actually worried about you?
What are you talking about?
Wouldn't lie if I were you. You don't want to be known as the lying slut now, do you?
Look, I don't know what you think you saw, but it wasn't like that.
What, you just let him into your room to study? Yeah, that house
He's
is
gonna
full
get
of
punched in the
screw-ups. I guess
face.
you shouldn't really be surprised. A bunch of screw-ups in your
Jonathan,
family. I mean,
leave
your
it.
mom. I mean, I'm not even surprised.
Jonathan.
Oh,
Half
he
the
went.
I'm
He's.
sorry, I have to be the one to
Steve,
tell you,
shut
but
up.
the Byers, their family is a disgrace to the entire family.
Stop! You're gonna hurt him! Jonathan! Stop! Oh my God, Jonathan, off of him! Stop!
Oh, jeez.
Stop it!
Oh. Cop got hit. Eggos. I've never had an Eggo in my life. They're calling for you. Isn't frozen? How is she eating this? Oh, frickin'.
Hey there, frog face.
What?
Crap! Just keep going!
Oh, man.
Keep going!
Seriously? Jesus Christ.
Get off me!
Let him go! Let him go!
L.
All right, cut it. I think I should save Tooth here a trip to the dentist. Help him lose the rest of his baby teeth.
Jeez.
Jump. Our Toothless here gets an early trip to the dentist.
No,
Jeez.
I don't need my baby teeth, Mike. Mike, seriously, don't!
They're gonna do it anyway. Freaking. That is a hell of a jump. Is he floating?
Holy shit.
Oh, thank you, L. Never mess with me again. Oh! Oh, that's brutal.
You better run! He's our friend and he's crazy! You can't kill you!
God It's disgusting.
The gate. I opened it. I'm the monster. No, no, Ellie, you're not the monster. You saved me.
Aw, group hug. Dustin. Dustin's so funny. Oh no.
I have eyes on him now.
No, God. Can't you tell they're coming? Alright guys, I was editing and I realized my voice is really weird in the recording. I don't know what caused that. If it was equipment or if my voice was weird from something I ate or something, I don't know. But sorry about that. I'm gonna start talking about this episode just about Nancy and Steve. I'm glad this episode started with Nancy getting back to our world from the Upside Down. My question is, if the other place is called the Upside Down, are we in the right side up? I don't know. Jonathan keeps yelling, and thankfully there was another portal out of there. Like, she got through it basically right before it closed back up, but that could have been very bad. Steve winds up seeing them together. Jonathan was just consoling her, and he gets the completely wrong idea. But Jonathan and Nancy go to the gun shop, and the owner just sells them a bunch of crap and ammunition after they say they're going to hunt monsters. Oh man, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be able to do that in this day and age, right? But yeah, it was so incredibly frustrating to see Steve check on her and then make assumptions about what happened based off of that. And he wouldn't even believe the truth, even if she told him, which makes it even worse. Like, I was so frustrated then. I wish maybe she had said they were looking for Barb, but at that point, like, it was pointless trying to change his mind. Steve and his friends were already so far over the line, and after last episode too, I had finally been like, oh yay, like, Steve's finally showing some good traits, and like, nope, not at all. And I get it, he felt betrayed, but nothing justifies any of his actions, and I'm not saying it's poorly written or anything, it just makes me hate Steve and his little friends. Ugh. Yeah, I didn't think Nancy and Steve were a good fit in the first place, mostly because he shouldn't be dating anyone until he learns some emotional maturity. But this is not the way I wanted it to go down. I don't know if what I just said will be controversial about he shouldn't be dating anybody. Like, I'm sure somebody will think like, oh, but if he doesn't date anybody, how is he going to learn? I don't know. I would say that your self-growth shouldn't have to come at the cost of the people you're dating. Yeah, nothing is going to undo what Steve wound up doing to Nancy, I feel like. And there are plenty of things you can do to learn how to date, how to be a good person without dating. And I don't know if the people on the streets were judging her, like actually judging her, but it definitely seemed that way to Nancy. Like, if I saw something like that, I would definitely not jump to the conclusions about the person being written about, but I don't know if that's common sense in the 80s. I don't think that's common sense now, actually. And I hated the way Steve went after Jonathan too, talking about his father and mother and the whole family being screw-ups. I mean, Steve just knows exactly which buttons to push and does it to whoever he doesn't like, and it's honestly a little sickening. And Nancy is just having like a horrible day and week. Barb goes missing, then she gets freaked the hell out and traumatized by that monster in the other dimension, and she can't sleep well because she doesn't feel safe in her own home. And then there's this new layer with Steve. I mean, what Steve did has to be pretty traumatic too. She was very worried earlier in the season about what people would think of her after she slept with Steve, and he goes after her in exactly the way he thinks would hurt her most, and it's ugh. And I don't condone violence, but and yeah, like, Jonathan shouldn't have hit Steve, but if I was in his shoes, I don't know that I could have stopped myself either. And it was a little satisfying to see Steve get his butt kicked a little, though Jonathan did accidentally like elbow a cop or something. But I'm glad that didn't escalate even further. But him getting arrested definitely puts a damper on the search for Will and Barb. I thought that was going to continue this episode, but it didn't. And Steve, it's going to be very, very hard for him to be redeemed if that's what the writers want to do. Like, at this point, he would need to show remorse for his actions before he finds out the truth. He can't find out the truth and be like, oh, like, they had another reason for doing what they're doing. I'm sorry. Like, he needs to realize that slut-shaming Nancy, or allowing it to happen, and starting that fight with Jonathan was wrong, regardless of what the situation was. And yes, I blame the fight starting on Steve and not on Jonathan. And he needs to apologize for doing both of those things. I don't know that he's capable of that as a character anytime soon, but maybe. We'll see. Meanwhile, I like the sleuthing that Hopper and Joyce were able to do. They figured out that another kid was being held based on the drawing Will did earlier, being better than the stick figure one Elle drew. And that is some really good writing. Like, when we first saw Will drawing it, it was like a kind of a way to calm down the story, like give us a breather, show us insight into what Joyce was feeling. But then it winds up being like a key component to the story now, so that's very well done. Now they're not completely right about what's going on. Like, the Department of Energy didn't take Will; they just like faked his death. But even though that is the case, it leads us on this really interesting journey to Terry Ives, and we even get to see Eleven's mother, Terry Ives, and we get to see what she's like. And we find out the real story behind Elle. Terry was experimented on with drugs, and she didn't know she was pregnant at the time. Did Dr. Brenner know she was pregnant? Like, did he purposely look for subjects that were pregnant? Either way, Elle's powers are apparently man-made. I don't think that's what I was expecting, but her mother knows 11 is still alive, has powers, and that Dr. Brenner faked Elle's death in the womb. So it seems like Terry got some level of powers too. It just messed her up in a lot of ways also. I don't know if that's a direct result of the drugs or if Dr. Brenner did something to her. But it's probable that other people out there have the same powers then. Elle probably has the strongest of those powers simply because she was born with them and they were actively using her as the person to do those experiments on. But yeah, I'm curious if the 10 subjects before her were all children too, or if Terry and all those other adults were one of those people. Things we might find out sooner or later. Is there a future in which Elle is returned to Terry? I don't know. Like, I don't know if she's even capable of raising a child anymore after what Dr. Brenner did to her. But yeah, this episode, the dynamic between all the boys is really interesting. Mike is furious at first, kicking Elle's fort thing in the basement. And he definitely has conflicting feelings about Elle. Like, first he's showing out his outrage, but then when he's with Lucas, again, he tries to defend her to him. It's a tough situation because they're kids and don't know how to fully express their feelings with each other just yet. And Dustin thinks it's because Lucas feels jealous because Mike is kind of all over Elle and they no longer feel like best friends. And it's never a good idea to assume other people's intentions or motivations, but at the very least, Dustin opens Mike's mind to considering what Lucas is experiencing. And this is a TV show, so that's probably what it is. What Dustin said is probably true. And I like what they bring up about best friends, though. I think I cut it in editing, but my idea of best friends is not like this one best friend forever and you can't have any other best friends. I think of best friends as like a rank anyone can achieve, and you can have more than one. And yeah, it's good to treat your friendships with as much importance as your relationships, and so that you don't wind up with a situation like Lucas and Mike. But yeah, I love that the boys have their own set of laws set up in case they fight. Mike pushed first, so he has to be the one to offer the handshake. He drew blood first. Seems fair to me. And I love Dustin's line, like, "This is the rule of law, obey or be banished from the party." I really love their, I really love everything about the group. Actually, I was saying in earlier episodes that Mike is really mature for his age with his understanding and his treatment of Elle. But honestly, Dustin takes that crown right now. I was a little on edge with him clapping really hard at Elle in episode 2, but he really is like really kind to all of his friends and really self-aware. So yeah, I really appreciate Dustin. But Lucas won't shake Mike's hand because Mike and Dustin both feel they still need Elle. And Lucas goes off on his own. And he winds up finding the gate. He finds out that the gate is in the Department of Energy, and later he sees the Hawkins vans pull away from the building. I really liked Lucas's suit up montage though, like we're wearing all these different things. But yeah, while all this is happening, we find out Dr. Brenner had Elle purposefully make contact with the monster, and I'm just like, oh, this is yeah, just go like poke this monster in your brain that appears when you try to spy on Russian contacts without any clue what it will lead to. And Elle, she's so broken, I feel. I think she's felt like a monster ever since she brought the real monster over into the right side up. The scene with her looking into her reflection in the lake and she was screaming at it, I think she was actually angry at herself. And because we learned about her backstory, we know she's been like locked up all of her life. And I don't know, it's just a rough situation. She attracts quite a bit of attention this episode. One thing I noticed in editing is that she doesn't have a nosebleed as she walks into the supermarket, but then as she gets past the door, she has one. So I don't know if she used her powers to open the automatic doors, not knowing they were automatic, since I don't think there are automatic doors in the Department of Energy. And then she calls the guy in charge a mouth breather, presumably because she read his thoughts. So I don't know if we'll ever see him again, find out why exactly he's a mouth breather. But she was just eating like frozen Eggos in the forest when she hears Mike and Dustin calling for her. I thought she'd go to them right away and we'd see her right away, but expectation subversion with the freaking bullies back. This episode makes me so mad in so many different ways. Not in a bad way though. I'm like, it makes me enjoy the episode a lot. But they cut to Lucas, and I thought he might come and help somehow, but threatening to tear out Dustin's baby teeth, forcing Mike to jump off into the lake. Like, these kids should be charged with attempted murder, right? Like, I don't know what the conditions are in juvie, so I don't know that they should be sent there, but someone needs to go start paying attention to how these kids are being raised and how they're turning out, and the actions they're taking. And of course, Mike risked his life to spare Dustin. Of course he would do that. I don't know if the bullies were fully prepared to actually take out his teeth, because that's like next level torture. Elle showed up at exactly the right moment though. A few seconds later, and someone might have to fish Mike out of that lake. And she shoved over one bully and broke the other one's arm. Oh, that was so brutal. And she tells Mike and Dustin that she's the monster. And I said just a little earlier that she might have felt that way for quite a while. So she must blame herself for Will being taken, Barb too. I don't know how much she can feel, but she might have known Nancy was in the Upside Down for a while too. I'm not sure though. But Dustin was so funny as the bullies ran off. She's our friend and she's crazy. You're gonna come back and we'll kill you or something like that. And then they get into this group hug. Dustin's so happy that Elle saved Mike, and he's really touched that Mike risked his life for him, so that's really sweet. But finally, earlier in the episode, the fake child services person is back and went to see their teacher, Scott. I was really worried about him after what happened to Benny, but thankfully they just wanted information. Even though, like, unfortunately that information leads to them finding the kids and following them home. I didn't think they had any idea I don't know if they had any idea that the kids have Elle with them. I think it was just because of them hearing what went on in the AV club, and I don't think Elle actually said too many words out loud. Yeah, the Department of Energy is getting geared up with a bunch of guns. Like, these are a bunch of kids. I don't know what they're trying to do. Elle is with them though, so she's gonna have to save their lives probably again. I wouldn't actually put it past a government agency to want to have the entire village wiped out to keep that secret though. But hopefully it does. I'm guessing it won't come to that. Alright guys, I'm going to give this episode a 7.5 out of 10. Super frustrating to see Nancy go through everything she had to go through, but really satisfying seeing Elle save Mike and getting those bullies off the boys' back for what I hope is the last time. I also think she didn't go too far this time as opposed to what happened with Lucas. They were holding a knife to Dustin's neck and ordered Mike off a cliff. Yeah, I asked earlier in an early episode if have you seen any kids this bad actually become good-hearted adults in the future? And people have been saying yes and no. Some people are horrible, and I've heard some people go on to be really good, but I can't comprehend what must be going on in their home life to cause them to be such monsters. I mean, I can, like, maybe they're abused, maybe they're neglected, but man. And maybe they have actually good parents and it just turns out that they're horrible people. I don't know. But I really hope Joyce and Hopper going to see Jonathan will allow them to actually talk about the issues. I actually really want all three groups to come together and work together, but if they did that, the kids would definitely be sidelined, so I'm guessing it's gonna be Mike, Elle, and Lucas that will find, and Dustin that will find Will eventually. But anyway, if you want to check out the next episode or you want to watch the full episode reaction with the footage for this episode and the next, I've already posted them both over on Patreon. You can check that out in the link in the description below or over here. Be sure to like, comment, share, all that good stuff, and subscribe so you can check out next week's episode airing Sunday at 8 a.m. Thanks for watching. Bye, friends.